Hi, I'm Claire from Beautiful Beginnings Yoga, and I'm going to read a little bit from my new book, Milestones of Motherhood, which explores mothering as a journey of change and transformation for us as women. It explores all the many things that we learn and explore through learning to love and nurture our children. So many of us are at home with our children, schools are closed, and our normal routines are no longer possible. We can often feel a sense of chaos and worry, stress that we're not achieving and doing many of the things that we normally do. And of course, there's anxiety about educating our children and all the different opportunities that they usually have not being there currently. So I'm going to read a little bit which talks about the milestone, the shift from doing to being, and the valuing relationships. Once we begin to understand the fleeting nature of childhood from the perspective of a parent, we value time spent with our growing children all the more. Although the early years can be incredibly challenging, rather than seeing them as something to simply get through, we come to see them as the gold dust of our parenting journey. We recall the exuberance of our kids splashing in puddles, purple faced from foraged blackberries. Stories they told us as we were trying to cook tea and just wished for half an hour of peace. Pictures scribbled on the walls, long drawn out bedtimes, early morning stories and cuddles. It is these moments that become the memories of their childhoods. Anna, mother of six, reflects with tenderness upon the importance of the small, seemingly everyday moments, the things we would not necessarily recognise as being as special at the time. Now my children are adults, it's not the big milestones I think of most often, but the ordinary, everyday things we took for granted. I think of the children jumping into our bed, walks backwards and forwards to school, long summer holidays, playing in the garden, or walking to the library, coming back, eating ice lollies. I think of winter evenings, playing games, snowball fights. I think of them running around at the park or the beach. Our silly little family rituals come to mind, jumping in pillowcases on Christmas Eve, singing carols with someone playing recorder. I think of the Easter egg hunts, how when we came in from a day out, Daddy always had to make beans on toast. I remember watching them unobserved as they sat and played or as they slept at night, bursting with love. I think of the times when some silly game made us fall about laughing, and the silly song we always sang on the way back from holiday. These things didn't always seem like fun at the time. I remember sighing when they wanted to wash their dolls' clothes or help with some household chore I'd hoped to get done quickly. I was irritated at times by having to listen to them chatter on about something when I really didn't have the time. Now I would love to go back and enjoy those moments instead of wishing them away. There were hard times with tears and arguments, misunderstandings, illness and anger. But what I wish I could remember better are all those everyday things that, in retrospect, were not so everyday after all. At the time, they were just part of the fabric of everyday life. They didn't stand out as any sort of milestone, but were the cornerstones of childhood. I realise it is these cornerstones that meant the most, and I wish I'd appreciated so much more. By Anna, mother to four daughters and two sons, all now adults, and four grandchildren. Anna is so right. It truly is the small things, the time simply spent together, which we come to realise matters most. We can become so distracted by the seemingly bigger things, work, finances, the constancy of everyday tasks, that we forget the real value of simple connection. The seemingly everyday moments, the cuddles, talks, nothing special, big, or expensive, which we come to look back on as being most important of all. No doubt we will look back and cherish these moments when our children are far from our laps and our dinner tables. Yet, if we can learn to love, cherish, and value the importance of these moments at the time they take place, we empower ourselves to feel the joy, beauty, and absolute perfection of our family life, whatever form it takes, alongside the times we're struggling and things are not as we hoped. Reminding ourselves to be emotionally present brings our family journey alive. We can shake ourselves out of just going through the motions, wishing they would be quiet so we could get on with something else, or wishing we were elsewhere doing something more necessary. Our awakening through intense years of mothering alerts us to the fact that time does not stand still, and that the importance does not lie elsewhere, but is right here, right in front of us, in the connection we share with our children in each present moment. We can grow in gratitude as we realise just how blessed we are to have our children and our family life, no matter how imperfect or difficult it feels at times. Lizzie puts into words this shift from doing to being, which we experience as we grow from predominantly focusing on doing and productivity to realising the importance of being present with our children. My focus shifted from productivity and the need to have achieved something to having quality time and relationships. Lizzie, mother to Izzy, James, and Lloyd. Mothering is a quality of being. It is about being responsive and connected to our children, sharing joys and supporting them through challenges. Understanding this helps us value what we do as mothers, especially when it is mostly invisible to others. Often, both as a culture and individually, we judge our worth and value on the results we achieve, what we have produced, what can be counted, seen, quantified, and rewarded with pay. Yet, as mothers, so often we feel we have little to show for what we might have done that day, despite not having stopped for a minute. We may look around after a drawn out bedtime and sigh at our messy house, sink full of dishes, scattered muddy boots, wet coats, toys, pens, and the like, and feel a sense of despair. Yet, as we come to perceive our work from milestones of valuing relationships, being present, and recognizing the immense worth inherent in spending time with our children, we begin to see the value within our work. Yet this is not a straightforward journey. For as much as we may value mothering, we still have to find ways of managing the practicalities alongside caring for our children and any other work we do. For many of us, it is a struggle to keep on top of our homes, laundry, employment, shopping, and preparing food alongside responsive baby care, school runs, and a home filled with the joy, challenge, and creativity of energetic children. Most of us are still struggling to figure out how to do this, often single-handedly. Catherine speaks of adjustment and reflection, and how she ultimately came to see the toys, felt pens, and Play-Doh accumulated through the day not as a sign of her failure, but as evidence of the joy, fun, and creativity she facilitated and shared with her children. Her story is testimony to our transformation, changes on one level affecting changes throughout our inner landscapes. There are many times when I stand in the middle of the house and look around, feeling a real sense of despair. I'm naturally a tidy person, so it drives me mad to be surrounded by a mass of strewn toys, piles of laundry, just stuff everywhere. In the past, I've wasted energy tidying up in the middle of the day when I'd have to do it again in the evening anyway. But even knowing this is not always enough to stop me trying to regain some control of the house. In having children, you inevitably lose a lot of control over your life, like when you can sleep and go out, etc. I think trying to keep the house tidy is quite significant for me, in that it represents one area in which I have some control. Over time, I've definitely become more relaxed. I've had to. I still hate the mess, the food thrown on the floor, endless spillages, but I accept it now as part of the fabric of life with children. Sometimes I'm even able to like it a little and have a slight feeling of pride that I'm able to let my children be children and make a mess. I guess in that respect, they are actually teaching me to be a bit more relaxed and less controlling, which is good. I have started to try to look at the state of the house at the end of the day as a representation of what I and my children have achieved during that day. If the Play Doh is still out on the table and there are pens and paper lying around, jigsaw pieces and Lego, then I can look back at the day and think, yes, we did all those activities together. I now have to scrape Play Doh out of the carpet and clean felt tip off the table, pick up Lego and jigsaw pieces. But at least I know the children experienced all those activities today. I try to look at all that has gone on around the house as a constantly changing patchwork of our day-to-day routine. It's always messy, but it makes me feel proud that I'm here to be part of that picture in my children's lives. Catherine, mum to Lucy and Tess. Over time, Catherine came to revision her mothering on a deeper level. Whilst being messy, her house reflected times of shared creativity, play, and connection. We may not see the immediate benefits of love, connection, creativity, listening, and reading stories being assimilated into our child's psyche, forming the bedrock of their self-esteem and emotional well-being. Yet we have the material reminders from the times we shared. Such a shift in perspective can help us value what we do and bear the years of mess and chaos. So, in these difficult times where our normal routines are not possible and it feels like there's a lot of time just in the house with our children, just to let you know that being with your children, listening, reading, simply being outdoors, listening to the birds, going for walks, your presence is enough. You are enough as a mum.